The business of sports. It's a game a lot of people are playing these days. Everybody from corporations to the customer are playing. Mark Rosen and Mike Myrendorf have spent the last month looking into the money game off the field. And tonight, Mark begins his 5-part series entitled Athletes and the Ads.
Well, Mike, the American public has always had a certain curiosity over the amount of money a professional athlete makes. Dozens of pros earn much more than the President of the United States. And now the opportunities exist for certain athletes to actually double their salary off the field in commercial ventures. Virtually every facet of American business has felt the country's economic pinch except for sports. Its appeal is universal, satisfying many individual needs. For adults, sports can offer a sense of escapism, relieving stress, allowing some to fulfill a Walter Mitty dream. Athletes are also sex symbols. For kids, sports stars act as role models, people youngsters look up to and pattern their life after.
A quick screen to the outside receiver, blocking in front of them.
Television networks have capitalized on the nation's thirst for sports, pouring millions of dollars to expand their coverage. The more sports they program, the more people watch. In recent years, the use of sports personalities in advertising and other promotional activities has skyrocketed. It's estimated that 1 in 12 television commercials now involves an athlete. Part of the reason for the sports star mania is that companies can usually get an athlete as a spokesman cheaper than other famous people. But the bottom line is visibility. An athlete's exposure value is equal to anyone's in the country. The best-known man on earth is not the president, but Muhammad Ali. New York City, the communications capital of the world. 75% of all major advertising is located in this town. It's a city that one advertising man said invites you to use your wit and intelligence. Otherwise, you can't survive here. Even if you try, he says, it's hard to be lazy in New York. That advertising man's name is George Lois, who stands head and shoulders above his competitors. Lois has done as much as anyone to change modern advertising. He is probably America's most resourceful art director and surely its most prolific. Lois has earned a reputation for being able to do commercials with athletes. Good commercials, ones people remember.
Wow.
Lois produced this Yogi Berra cat commercial over 20 years ago.
Well, I try to use athletes in a very strong visual imagery, but with a sense of humor. I mean, I like using humor in advertising.
Are athletes good subjects for advertising, George?
Yeah, I think they're great if you use them correctly. I mean, if you just pick them up as a spokesman, and it's usually not very good at all. In fact, it's usually very embarrassing. My job isn't to make money for athletes. My job is to make money for my clients. My job is to sell products. But an athlete can help me sell my client's product, and at the same time, I can do advertising that sells that product and makes the guy look good. And that's an art. You know, it's the art of advertising. But that's an art, and very few people know how to do it.
Now, if endorsements would come along, that would be fun. I would love to do it.
Tomorrow night, we'll visit with Roy Smalley of the Minnesota Twins, who is hoping to get involved in endorsements, but discovering the opportunities aren't here in the Twin Cities. And we'll go to California, where a transplanted Minnesotan named Rod Carew reveals his reluctance to put himself on the commercial market. In the coming days, we'll find out from Mean Joe Green how an award-winning commercial made him into a nice guy. We'll go behind the scenes of a Hertz commercial with O.J. Simpson, the Jackie Robinson of advertising. What opportunities do women athletes have in commercials? Billie Jean King will answer that question. We'll also visit with the controversial slugger of the Yankees, Reggie Jackson, whose love-hate relationship in New York has earned him millions off the field.
Yes, snot. You asshole.
Well, that's a side of Reggie Jackson the public rarely sees, but Reggie's interaction with New York crowds only adds to his controversial image that helps him be that much more successful off the field. We'll have part 2 of Athletes in the Ads tomorrow night at 10.
That's 60 seconds.
People think this is an easy job, huh? Tonight, we've asked Ralph John to join us a little bit earlier in the broadcast to present the second part of a special week-long sports series.
And Doug, it is a series we call Athletes and the Ads. For every professional athlete who has the opportunity to get involved in endorsements, there are 20 others who are hoping to. And in tonight's segment, Mark Rosen contrasts baseball's players Roy Smalley and Rod Carew.
Roy Smalley represents the new breed of professional athlete, a well-rounded individual who is just as comfortable discussing philosophy as he is in discussing the art of hitting. At the age of 28, Smalley has become the team leader, a person his teammates look to and count on. His talents on the field have been recognized not only by his fellow ball players, but by fans across the country. In 1979, Smalley was the runaway choice as the American League shortstop, receiving over 2,500,000 votes. Given the little national publicity he receives, that's a staggering total. The California-born Smalley has fallen in love with Minnesota. His wife is from here, and with their newborn son, are enjoying the good life in this state. Roy would like to stay in Minnesota once his playing days are over. He would like to build a strong foundation for his future by lending his name and image to a reputable company. Smalley truthfully feels he could do a good job as a spokesman. Perhaps it's because he's not playing on a winning team. But whatever the reasons, Smalley is puzzled over the lack of endorsement opportunities.
I think there is a certain identification with athletes all over the country, and especially in this area. The people are tremendous Vikings fans. I'm surprised that more of the Vikings haven't done more of the work, and even the stuff that Tommy does, Tommy Kramer, is not real big-time stuff, and the Twins have not done anything at all. And I am kind of surprised, but I really don't think that there's anything that I can do to go out and pound the pavement and promote myself. That really wouldn't be my style.
There's another story here, and that's how an athlete with superstar ability deals with his celebrity status. When Rod Carew left Minnesota to come out here to California, it was a big step in his career. The commercial opportunities increased, but to Carew, baseball still comes first.
Come on, you can catch them turkeys!
This is the Los Caballeros Racquet and Swim Club in Southern California, the site of the first annual Rod Carew MS Olympics. Other athletes and movie and TV stars are here to help Carew raise $50,000 for MS. This is an example of how an athlete can use his name and face by getting involved in the community. Financially, Carew won't get anything out of this two-day event, but for now, it's the only way he feels comfortable marketing himself.
I'm winning.
What Carew really draws the most pleasure from in the off-season is spending as much time as possible with his family, helping his kids learn and watching them have fun.
Smiling for the camera.
Rod, when you were with the Twins and had your great glory years, I think a lot of people maybe anticipated seeing you on national commercials, yet we never did. What do you think the reason was for that?
Well, Mark, I didn't go out and sell myself. I didn't really push Rod Carew, I was more interested in playing baseball instead of going out there and doing commercials and, getting my concentration broken up. I just didn't want to think about anything else off the field. Baseball has been my livelihood, and that's the way I wanted it to be.
Carew is at the pinnacle of his career. His luxurious home in the hills of Orange County reflect 14 years of being the best in his business. He is a wealthy man, drawing an estimated $900,000 a year for playing baseball. But his personal values have never changed. The trade to the Angels opened many avenues in the commercial field, all wanting a piece of Rodney in exchange for cash. And while other athletes would give anything to be in his position, Carew has stood firm. The time may come when Rod gets involved with endorsements, but only if he really believes in the product.
I don't really believe that, money is all that life is supposed to be. You shouldn't just keep trying to grab everything you can. You've got to stop someplace.
When you hear the name Mean Joe Green, what do you associate it with?
Mean Joe Green, football.
Coca-Cola.
Tomorrow night, we'll meet Mean Joe Green, professional football player and commercial star. Unlike Rod Carew, Green thrives on his endorsement opportunities. We'll see how one commercial changed his image and captured the hearts of the American public. With photographer Mike Myrendorf, this is Mark Rosen reporting.
have to wait until tomorrow, Doug.
Well, again tonight, we've asked Ralph John to join us a little bit earlier than usual so he can present a special series we're broadcasting this week.
Doug, another Channel 4 Sports exclusive, and we have been exploring the new role athletes have taken in the American advertising industry. They are truly the top salesmen in the nation. And in tonight's segment of Athletes in the Ads, Mark Rosen examines what is perhaps the most successful television advertisement using a sports figure.
When you hear the name Mean Joe Green, what do you associate it with?
Mean Joe Green, football.
Coca-Cola.
The Coca-Cola ad.
Coca-Cola commercial.
Mean Joe Green. Just the name sends shivers down the spines of opposing linemen. The leader of the vicious steel curtain, unprecedented four-time Super Bowl champs. Green's accomplishments on the field often make him the first player sought out by the media in post-game locker rooms. Reporters just love to get quotes from Mean Joe. Oddly enough, Green was not the player the advertising agency had in mind when the concept of the Coke commercial was created. Pittsburgh quarterback Terry Bradshaw was. That's when Marty Blackman stepped in.
It's not O.J. Simpson. It's probably not, may not even be the quarterbacks on your team.
Blackman works with his partner Norm Raber as consultants to the large advertising agencies in New York City. He's the man who selects the ex-athletes for the popular Miller Lite beer commercials. And he's the one who suggested Mean Joe Green, and not Bradshaw, for the Coca-Cola spot.
It's rare that you find a Joe Green Coca-Cola commercial. There, the acting, the interplay between the young boy and Green and the direction on that commercial, that's a nice piece of acting. It's, but again, it wasn't a hard sell. Joe Green didn't stand up there and say, drink it. There was a story. He acted out a story. That's basically the way to use the professional athlete.
Penny Hawkey is a senior vice president at McCann Erickson Ad Agency in New York and the writer of the Joe Green spot. Her one concern about the commercial was how Green would perform in front of the camera. She was pleasantly surprised.
He wanted to know from me what I had in mind. He wasn't just looking at the script and saying, okay, I will say, no, kid, that's okay. He wanted to get as much depth out of it as he could.
Green reportedly had to drink 18 bottles of Coke during the course of the two-day shoot, making for some humorous moments on the set.
Hey, kid.
All right, cut. Mothers writing letters saying thank you for a nice commercial. What a pleasure to see a sweet commercial like that. People are really grateful for some decent 60-second and 30-second advertising, which gives you pause to think about just how terrible everything is out there.
There were new fans, is what I'm saying. There were people that recognized me as the guy that did the Coke commercial above being a football player. Probably most of all the kids.
That's the way it should be. I like to see.
Hey, kid.
Whole world is smiling with me. Coca-Cola as life. Have a glass.
Thanks, Mean Joe.
Smile. Quiet, please.
Parker.
Tomorrow night, we'll take you to Los Angeles on location of a Hertz commercial with O.J. Simpson, whose breakthrough in commercial work opened the doors for many other black athletes. With photographer Mike Myrendorf, this is Mark Rosen reporting.